Welcome to UCLA Newsweek, September 15th, 2010. In this edition, UCLA geographer Lawrence C. Smith drops by Studio 210B to discuss his new book, The World in 2050.
Even if we had no climate change whatsoever, we're facing dire water stress problems simply due to rising population and rising prosperity.
David Hayes Bautista discusses the bicentennial of the Mexican War of Independence and how history molded the nation's concept of race.
When Mexico abolished slavery and the castas, they weren't about to go back. So this concept of carefully categorizing everyone by which race are you was really increasingly foreign.
And in brief, how the economy is hurting unions and a non-invasive depression fighter. As worldwide population increases by 40% over the next 40 years, sparsely populated Canada, Scandinavia, Russia, and the northern United States will become formidable economic powers and migration magnets, according to UCLA geographer Lawrence C. Smith, author of The World in 2050, Four Forces Shaping Civilization's Northern Future.
The New North, the Northern Rim, the northern countries of the world, which lie north of the 45th parallel, except in Western Europe. These 8 northern countries, which consist of the northern United States, Canada, Greenland, Iceland, Norway, Sweden, Finland, and especially Russia, will experience enormous changes over the next 40 years. And if you look at the population projections around the hottest, driest parts of the planet, which is where much of our population lives, even if we had no climate change whatsoever, we're facing dire water stress problems simply due to rising population and rising prosperity, rising industrialization. Industrialization is an even bigger user of water than drinking and showering and so forth. In contrast to that, the North countries, with the exception of the Western Canadian prairies, are water rich. They have far more water than they can consume or use, and this will increasingly make them the envy of the world. Crop production is one of the more, like shipping in the Arctic Ocean, is one of the more excitedly touted perceived benefits of climate warming in the northern high latitudes. And the agroclimate models do suggest some slight increases in agricultural productivity in Canada, in the northern parts of Russia. These are places that are already breadbaskets today. So on the northern fringes of this agriculture, what we will not see is the sprouting of wheat fields across the Arctic or in Greenland or Scandinavia or any of these things.
David Hayes Bautista discusses the abolition of slavery and the racial caste system following the Mexican War of Independence, and how these ideas of liberty resonated once California became part of the United States.
Mexican Independence Day clearly celebrates the independence of Mexico as Mexico separated from Spain, but in so doing, there were 2 important principles that were involved in Mexican independence that later had a huge role here in Los Angeles, in California, and in the United States. First issue was the abolition of slavery. Mexico was one of the first countries that abolished slavery, and of course there were the legal distinctions depending on whether you're pure Iberian or some mixture. Each one was called a different casta and had different legal strictures placed upon it. With Mexican independence, all these race-based strictures were abolished. Then California becomes part of the United States, and suddenly, kaboom, there's race again. When Mexico abolished slavery and the castas, they weren't about to go back. So this concept of carefully categorizing everyone by which race are you was really increasingly foreign. There was the U.S. racial algorithm, very clear, the one-drop rule, one knowable black ancestor, you were black, and then this very fluid Mexican Latin American rule, very informal, and then they collided in the American West, beginning with the Alamo.
And now, a look at more developments at UCLA. UCLA's Institute for Research on Labor and Employment has found the recession is finally taking its toll on national, state, and local union jobs. Following years of unionization growth in California, the state is now losing union jobs faster than any other state in the U.S., the study found. A unique therapy that involves applying electrical stimulation to a major nerve emanating from the brain has shown promise in reducing symptoms of depression. A recently completed clinical trial at UCLA found that the trigeminal nerve stimulation achieved an average of a 70% reduction in patients' symptom severity over an 8-week study period. For more information on these and other stories, visit newsroom.ucla.edu.